sorry, but your ankle is dislocated and not aligned with the rest of your foot.
But doctor, I have tournament this year.
So, if in that case, I think we can prescribe you with ankle foot orthosis, AFO, because with that AFO, it can align your ankle and keeping the toes aligned with the rest of your feet. So, for your case, I think that we can prescribe the ankle foot orthotic with plastic material and custom fabricated. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Let's find out how to make ankle foot orthosis.
Below the knee, the bony prominence of legs such as fibular head, medial malleolus, lateral malleolus, posterior part of the fifth metatarsal bone are marked with indelible pencil. Next, the marked leg parts were measured using calipers and measuring tape. Those parts are length of foot from proximal to distal end, cross-section of ankle, ankle diameters, medial lateral diameter of foot, length of leg from fibular head to the base of foot, and the circumference measurements. The measurements were then recorded for future reference in positive casting modification.
Stocking was stressed on subject's leg and a tube was attached. The subject's leg is then assured to be in neutral position with an angle of 90 degrees. POP was used to wrap the posterior part until the base of the foot. Similarly, as the previous process, POP is wrapped circumferentially from proximal to distal point. To capture the leg anatomical shape, leg was then massaged. The plaster was then let to dry and marking were reviewed and refreshed. Finally, the hardened cast was then cut along the tube using a cutter and subject's leg was removed gently. Next, for positive cast making, leakage was detected and necessary reinforcement is made. The negative cast was then rinsed with soap and then the metal pole is positioned inside the negative cast. Finally, the mixture was then poured into the negative cast, let dry, and removed gently.
Before conducting modifications, the original measurement were compared to the positive cast. If there are any difference, we will build up the cast using POP mixture. The cast will then be reduced using Surform to match the measurement, and then the markings will then be refreshed using indelible pencil. The entire surface of the upper part of the positive cast was then reduced to form a flat surface by using a flat Surform. The edges were then built up with POP mixture and then flattened by using the Surform and wire mesh. Moving to the next step, bony prominence is built up by hammering a nail and then add an additional POP mixture. Then using the curved Surform, the medial longitudinal arch area was shaped and formed. POP mixture was then applied on the distal end of the lower part of the positive cast for building up the cast. The area was then again reduced for using the Surform. The next step is the molding process. The measurement of the modified positive cast were taken for preparing to cut the polypropylene plastic. The length of the positive cast from the tibial tuberosity to the heel and to the tips of the toes were measured, and then the circumference of the smallest and the largest portion of the positive cast also measured. The measurement is used for making a pattern to cut onto the PP plastic with 2 cm added to the original total length. Then cut the PP using a jigsaw. The PP plastic will then be placed into the Autobox infrared oven at 179 degrees Celsius. Concurrently, the modified positive cast will then be clamped on a vise that was attached to a vacuum pump. Then, we put a pantyhose onto the cast and apply baby powder onto it. After the PP plastic had fully become transparent and ready, the PP was then transferred and molded onto the cast. Two of our groupmates will wrap the PP onto the positive cast and simultaneously close any visible gaps, while one of us helped to tie a knot on the proximal part that are connected to the pump. One of us will then open the suction pump for the PP sheet to capture the shape of the cast accurately. The cast is then ready for the next step after it cools down.
Trim line was drawn on the polypropylene plastic cast by using a marker pen. The trim line of the rigid AFO covers cuff, medial malleolus, lateral malleolus, and also the base of the foot. The polypropylene plastic cast was then cut along the trim line by using the oscillating cutter. The positive cast of the plastic layer was then broken by using a hammer to obtain the plastic cast. Then, the cast was craned along the trim line by using a grinding machine with a standing drum to obtain the desired shape. The edge of the polypropylene plastic cast was then smoothened by using the grinding machine with a felt cord. And finally, the AFO was done and could be fitted into the patient's leg.